All right, so jump right in to lesson 3, bubble 10. And we're going to pick up where we left off on our exploration of lists of arrays. First of all, is anybody here for the first time? Let's focus. Focus. Okay, so lesson 10, we get a list. Okay, in fact, I'm just going to get rid of this to start because it will get confusing. All right, so this is the first time that you are tasked with removing an item from a list. We've done append, we add something to the end, but here for the animals one, we need to remove an item. So the problem with removing an item, well, let's just go through this the way that you would think. So when let me console this out. So if we just do a console log of the list called animals, let's see what we get. We get the debug console prints out our list. It has 14 items in it because it starts out with 0 through 13. And we want to remove all the items that are numbers. So we want to remove index 2, we want to remove index 6, and we want to remove index 10. So let's just do that. And you might be able to tell from my tone that it's not going to work. Okay, so we have remove items, animals at index 2, at index 6, and index 10. And then let's console log it and see what happens. Well, it didn't get rid of all of the numbers. The reason why it didn't get rid of all of the numbers oh, that's not what I meant to do. Hold on. Give me a second. I'm jumping around too fast. Let's get rid of this. The reason why is because I did it afterwards. Okay. We console log, we got rid of index 2, 6, and 10, but it didn't get rid of all the numbers. The reason why is when you remove an item from a list, it instantly condenses to fill that gap. So originally, when we got rid of index 2, we then wanted to get rid of index 6, but because this replaced this one, and this replaced this one, and this replaced this one, the number was then at index 5, and we were trying to get rid of it at index 6. That is why when you are removing items from a list, you have to do it in reverse order. You have to go from the back of the list to the front. So if we do remove item at index 10, index 6, and then index 2, we will get rid of all the numbers because removing an item going backwards only affects the things after it. Everything before it is still in the correct location. Now, if we were doing this for real, we could write some sort of loop, a traversal, go through the list, write a conditional to check to see if something is a number or a string, and remove items that are numbers. We would still need to do that from the back, going from back to front, because we'd still have the same issue of having lists contract anytime you remove an item. Okay, so there's that. Okay, let's go on to bubble 11, which is actually 3 bubbles. And I think a lot of people, I don't know if it was willful ignorance, but last semester there were a lot of people that, I don't know, thought they finished lessons, but only did like the first of the 3 on this type of activity. We're doing all of them. I check them all, do them. What's up? All right, keeping going. We get for this one an app that is designed to keep a list of 10 songs. Our program code gives us a list with 10 songs on it, all strings, obviously, but that's the only way it would work. Our job is to write code that will get the user's input, the user's text input, and their rank choice, and insert whatever they type into that position, and then delete the last item or remove the last item, because otherwise there'd be more than 10. Okay, I've turned the sound off on the TV because you know how I feel about sound effects, but these two event handlers only just make sounds, which is fine. And the update screen here we talked about it last time, what .join does. He takes a list and combines every item in the list into a single string, and you can tell it to put something in between each item, like a comma or a \n to put it on a new line. There are other things to do that you can do with that, but usually \n is the most we'll do with it. So we need to, okay, in order for this to work, the first thing we have to do is get the user's input. So we are going to create some variables to hold whatever they put into it. Now, that information is only needed until we insert it into the item, or insert that item into the list. Then we can forget about it. The code can forget about it, which means it's a good opportunity to use a local variable, meaning put var inside of the function definition or event handler technically. Okay, and we need to get the user song. Why not call the variable user song? And we need to get the user's rank, or where they want it to go, user rank. And for the song, we need to get text, and we are getting the text from the area called song input, which is an excellent name for element ID. And for rank, we need to get number, and we're going to get the number from rank dropdown, another excellent name for the element ID. So we run this code, we get the user's text and rank, we store those in this variable temporarily. Now, using these two things, we can then insert item into the list. Okay, the three parameters for insert item are the name of the list, the position you want it to be inserted into, and what you actually want to be inserted. So the name of our list is called song list. The position we want to put it in is user rank. However, think about, just work through it. What would you want if the user put 1 as the rank? Where do they want it to be? They want it to be first. So if you just took their user rank and put it in there, it would be in the wrong position. You need to be 1 less. The index that we want to put the item in is 1 less than the number they chose, because the best one they could choose is 1, but that wouldn't be the first one in the list. So this is different than trying to find the last item in the list when we use list -1 or .length -1. This is just correcting for dealing with users that count from 1. Okay, we did that last time with the class or schedule app, where the output we wanted to start from period 1, but the index of the first class was index 0. So we added 1 to it just so the user saw the right number. It didn't affect the programming at all. It just was the number that we show the user. And the thing we want to insert is user song, not in quotes, because we don't want to insert the word user song. We want to insert whatever text is stored in that variable. Now, at this point, when we run it, we should be able to add new things to it. And a couple of things. First, what the puzzle wants us to do is get rid of whatever is in last place to keep the number of items at 10. So that's an easy one. We just need to remove item from the list called song list. And what position do we want to remove? Position 10, which is the 11th item. And that will keep us at a length of 10. So now, when we add things, the last thing gets removed, and we should be able to put it, if I put it in position 3, it should go above the twist. There we go. And if I put it in position 10, it should replace Buttercup. There we go. All right, good. Now, a couple of things to improve this. First thing, I want to, maybe just one thing. Think about the functionality of creating a app where it takes the user's input. You hit add new song, it gets added, great. Why would they still want that same text in there? They wouldn't. So what we're going to do is when we click, this needs to work on update button. We remove the item, actually anytime in here, we're going to set text of song input to an empty string. This is how we are going to clear out that input after we have added something. Why did that do that? Remove list, set text, songs. Oh, no, that's not songs output. That's song input. Excuse me. Song input. There we go. Okay, we click here and it clears it out. Much, much better. Now, we would, if we had access to the conditionals blocks, the blue ones, we would do some sort of check to make sure that the user doesn't add an empty string. Like here, if I put third position and then click new song before I type anything in there, it will insert an empty string, which is bad. I would say that is objectively bad functionality, but we can't do anything about it here because we don't have conditionals, and I'm not expecting you to type out syntax for a if-else statement. And I think that's it for this one. Add code, insert a new song, index to start at 0, insert remove item. That's it. Okay, so let's go on to the next one. Bubble B, 11B, photo album. So this one is interesting in that it's taking a second to load. So this one is broke in that we click run and we want to cycle through the images. We go one to the right, good, one more to the right, one more to the right, and it breaks. If we go to the left, it goes past the first one and it breaks. Okay, so that is the main issue. The scroll buttons cause errors. Let's look at the way the program code is set up. We start out with a already populated list called photo list that has some image URLs in it. Even though it technically doesn't matter, it's good to know how long a list is, if possible. So let's console log photo list dot length. You don't have to do this. If you pay attention, that's enough. So photo list dot length, and there are only 3 items. If you remember the app, the outfit picker app from lesson 2 that we just looked at, the first thing that app did was run this one-time function to populate the list to keep track of the URLs, because it had like 15 image URLs, and that list would have been a mile long if they tried to do it like this. This list is, I don't even know how many characters, forever, but there you go. It's only 3 images called photo list. We have another variable called index that we are using to control which index we are looking at in that list, and an update screen function that just sets the picture to whatever image is in photo list at the index. Again, the naming variables a little too on the nose can be harmful, like maybe photo index or rand index or something like that probably works better than index. Just the phrase photo list at index, just, I don't know, it's a little awkward. So the things we need to fix are the scroll, the left and right arrows, and there's supposed to be a counter, a display of how many items are in the list, and we need to be able to pick one at random. First thing we're going to do is fix the left and right buttons, because if we fix those, it'll be easier to check the other things, you know, get the app sort of working. So our problem is that it's working. We click on the right button, the variable index gets one more, then we call update screen and it gets set to the picture of that index. The problem is if we go to the third one, so this is the first picture, the second picture, the third picture, if we increase index one more, we are then looking in a place on the list where nothing exists. There is nothing at index 3, which is what it's looking for here. We need a way to prevent the click from doing anything if we're already at the end of the list. We need to check for something, and that is another way of saying we need a conditional. So what are we checking for? Well, the right button, we need to make sure we only want this variable index to increment. It's another good word, to go up by 1 if we're not already at the last picture. How can we say that? Well, we can say if index is less than, meaning we're looking at the one before, what is the index of the last image? The last image is list.length minus 1. Okay, in this case, it's photo list. Photo list dot length minus 1. And it never works when you use a comma. Okay, if index is anything less than the last one, it can go up by 1. And if we are on the last one, which is the only way this is false, it will not change the index. It will call update screen, but nothing will have changed. So now when we run it, we should be able to go all the way to the right, and it prevents us from breaking it going to the right. Going to the left still breaks. So left button, the same thing except the opposite. We need to check to make sure that we're not already on the first index, because if we're on the first index, we can't go any further to the left. So if index is greater than 0, then index can go down 1. So now when you run it, you should be go all the way to the right and have it stop, and go all the way to the left and have it stop and not cause errors. Okay, that is what this app expects us to do, or rather this challenge expects us to do. We are going to extend your abilities and add functionality that you would call wrap around. We did this before with the class schedule app, and it's pretty easy. So if we're going to the right, we are checking to see if we're on the last one. If we're not on the last one, go one more to the right. The only other scenario is that we're already at the last one. If we're at the last one and we click one more to the right, we want to be on the first one. Index gets 0. So keep going more to the right as long as you're not at the last one. But if you're at the last one, go back to the beginning. So now going right, we should be able to keep going all the way around. Left should still be stuck because we haven't added it here. So going left, we want to make sure that we're not already at the first one. If we're not already at the first one, we can go one more to the left. But if we are already at the first one, we want to set it to the last one. Index gets, wow. Index gets, do I already have photo list dot length -1. Okay, remember, photo list dot length is not the last item in the list. It is the index of the last item in the list. And we are using that to go and get that item from the list. Photo list at index. Okay, you need to know when we want the last item in the list and when we want the last item's address. It's the last item's index in the list. But here, we should be able to go both ways and have it work. Excellent. Okay, so now let's make the random photo button work. In order to do that, we need to pick a random number, but not just any random number, a random number that corresponds to a place in the list where something exists. We can't do random number 0 to 100 because, or 0 to 5 or whatever, because it will pick eventually a position where nothing exists. So we need to constrain that random selection. So the way we're going to do it is by assigning index, which is the variable we're using to keep track of where we are. We're going to assign it a random number. And that random number range needs to be between the lowest valid index, which is 0. It's always 0. And the highest valid index is dot length -1. And this is, of course, useful anytime, but especially if you have a super long list, or like in most cases, the length of the list will change as the program runs, and this accounts for that. Technically, you could make this random number 0 to 2, and it would pick one of the random 3 pictures. But if you added something to the list, this random number selector would not ever get anything past that. But having it dot length -1 lets you do that. And now just double check everything still works. Pick something at random. Of course, there's a 1 in 3 chance that you get the same. Oh, nope, never mind. Doesn't work yet, because even though we've changed the value of index when we do this, we need to update. Oh, that's not where it goes. We need to update the screen after we set the random value. So now this works. We go random number or random photo. It picks one at random. Of course, a 1 in 3 chance that it picks the same one again. There is a way. There's always a way to do things, but there's a way to make sure you don't get the same one. Obviously needs some sort of conditional. We're not going to do that today. All right, so we need to solve the issue of this output, or this text area here is supposed to show us how many pictures are in the list at any given time. And all we need to do there, we don't need to do any calculating or random or anything. We just need to set the text. We want to set the text of total photo output, total photos output. What do we want to set it to? List.length. That's it. We just want to have it put however many items are in the list. Nope, not update screen.length. That's not a thing. Photo list.length. There you go. And theoretically, or not theoretically, actually, it will let you add items to the to add images to the list. And you see added 4. This is a Blair map. Awesome. It's kind of a weird way that it works, but it works sort of. What's up? Sure. I can come back to this at the end. All right, so that's it for this one, I think. Let's go on to 11C. This one's a little more clunky. I don't think it's a good, it's not as elegant as the other apps. But we are supposed to do some things to it. We need to have this caption output, which is in this region eventually. There we go. Nailed it. This caption output, choose one of our encouragement strings, choose one at random. The way it works right now is, I don't think it does that much. Yeah, nothing happens. It does have a add image thing, which I don't know why they're pushing it. I haven't done it that much in the past. Either way, we have a new caption button, which is supposed to choose one at random, choose one of these items at random. And we have a add button that is supposed to get the text from the user and add it to the end of the list. So we can use append item for that. So let's do that. Okay, so we have photo select is choosing encouragement. Wait, caption output. Add code, so clicking on this button displays. Yeah, all right. So we need to have it. Are we using index? Yes, we are still using index. So when we click on new caption, we are just going to assign index a random number in the valid range, which is 0 to, what's the name of our list? Encouragement. 0 to encouragement dot length -1. No, it's not photo list. Encouragement dot length -1. Okay, so we're giving index a random number that equates to a valid location. And then, well, we don't have an update screen function, so we're just going to do the set text here. Let's do set text. And the text we're setting is called captions output. And what are we setting to? We're setting it to the name of the list, encouragement at index. Okay, encouragement at index. And the variable we're using to keep track of where we want to be is index. So at index. I think this will work. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so we are choosing a phrase at random. Now we need to get the user's input here. And when we click the add button, which is this one, take that text and add it to the end of the list. Because we're accessing these things at random, it doesn't matter where it goes in the list. It just needs to be added to the list, so we can use append item. And the append item is right here. And the two parameters for append item, the first one is list. It's expecting the name of the list you want to add to, which is encouragement. And what do we want to add to it? We want to add to it new encouragement. We are already given this local variable that gets the text from there, from this area, and puts it into new encouragement so that we can then do that. Technically, you can just do append item get text, a little cheeky, but this works also. So now if we add some things to the list, a bunch of keyboard mashes, and we do new caption, you can tell it's picking from the new items. So it's picking from a longer list than it started with. Otherwise, the button mashes would never come up. And I think that's it for this. Okay, new caption, add button. Yeah, I think that's it. All right, so there are 2 checks for understanding that go with this, and you might not be happy about it. It's easy. They're just multiple choices. But so here is a thing that might be frustrating. On the AP test, the program code questions, where they're like, what will be the value of this variable at the end of this, these 3 lines of code or whatever. They use pseudocode like this. And on the test, pseudocode starts at an index of 1. The first item in a list on the AP test will be index 1. We have spent a fair bit of time trying to solve the issues of starting counting at 0. Now we need to go back to counting from 1. Just it is. You'll be fine. Be good to go. A little disrespectful. All right, so for this one, we have a chunk of code, and we want to figure out what will be displayed at the end. So assigning lists, this arrow is the same as our single equal sign. We are assigning something. In this case, gems is getting assigned a list of 3 strings. But on the second line, it's getting assigned a list of 2 strings. Anytime you assign something, you erase all knowledge of what was before it. This is not a pending item. Opal and emerald are not added to the end of the list or inserted or whatever. They are just being assigned, so we forget this. So the item at gems, I don't want to say index 2. The second item in the list is emerald. So that is the end of this one. Emerald. Okay, bubble 13, a little trickier, only slightly, although the hardest part of this is remembering to count from 1 after all the time. So strong recommendation to anytime on the AP test, you have a set of code where you have to figure out what the result is of some variable or some other something. Get a pencil and a piece of paper and just keep track of it. Like A is 3. Okay, now it's not. Now it's 4. Now it gets divided by 2, so it's 2. And then as the program runs, you just update your variables with pencil. That's what we'll do here with this. Okay, so we have a list called lucky numbers that gets assigned 3 separate numbers. Okay, first thing, we want to insert into lucky numbers into position 2 the number 13. So first thing is 13 goes into second position, but insert doesn't remove anything. It just puts it in there and everything shifts over. That's not very pretty. Okay, so it goes, so after the second line runs, the list is 15, 13, 33, 25. Okay, so this is done. The next line, lucky numbers, gets appended the number 3. So after that, we add a 3 to the end with a pen. So after this line, 15, 13, 33, 25, 3. Then we remove from that list the thing that is in first position, get rid of this, So after these 3 lines run, the list is 13, 33, 25, and 3. And it's just asking for you to display, or what will be displayed if you did the length of lucky numbers. There are 4 items in the list when the code is over. That's why the answer is 4. All right. So that's it for productivity for today. Give me a minute and I'll process this and post it to the spreadsheet. And then